So here in this example, we're given f of x to be defined as this function, definite integral from this constant to x of sine t squared dt. So I'm trying to find the derivative of this definite integral. So f prime of x equals d dx, the integral from square root pi to x of sine t squared dt. Well, I know by FTC number 2, that is going to be sine of x squared. So we don't need to show any work here as long as it is in this correct format, the derivative with respect to x from some constant to x of a function. We can go straight to this work here. So then, what is f double prime of x? Well, it's the derivative of this. Let me do it in a different color. F double prime of x is going to be the derivative of sine x squared. So that's going to be cosine of x squared multiplied by 2x. So now that we figured out f of x, f of prime of x, and f double prime of x, let's evaluate them at some values. So f of pi is going to be the integral from square root pi to square root pi, excuse me, this said square root pi, of sine of t squared dt. Well, we know from properties of integrals that if you have the integral from the same number to itself, that area is going to be 0. So f prime of pi, square root pi, better said, is going to be sine of square root pi squared. That square should be inside the parentheses. So that's sine of pi, which is 0. And last but not least, down here, we're trying to find f double prime of square root pi. That is going to be cosine of square root pi squared times 2 square root pi. So cosine of pi times 2 square root pi. Cosine of pi is -1, so my answer is -2 square root pi. So we use fundamental theorem of calculus part 2 to take the derivative of an integral.